Oh man, oh jeez. Oh, hello. Good day to you folks. Welcome to Endurance Productions. Going to do a little kind of an informal video store run review here on a double feature format of movie Hatchet and Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes. Let's get started first with the movie Hatchet. Folks, I think it's the best start this way. There's an old saying in the South, folks. You can't polish a turd. I mean, it's true, folks. You just cannot polish a turd. You can take that thing, folks, you can rub on it all day with a high gloss compound, but at the end of the day, it's still a dirty, stinky turd. This is the case with the movie Hatchet, in my opinion. I'm not going to go overboard and just totally, just drag it out and dog it out for 5 minutes or something. Let me just tell you what I came away from my video store run recently. These two movies were basically movies that I just got reoccurrent comments and requests for on my YouTube page to do a review of it and tell people what I thought of them. Beginning with Hatchet, I was trying to keep a very open mind because I heard the rumblings that this one was supposed to be like its tagline, a return to old school horror, and it was going to have gore effects in it, and it was going to be unrated in a true sense of unrated. And I went into that, not trying to be hyped up, just trying to keep an open mind. I was going to watch the movie from beginning to end and give my honest opinion on it, which is what movie reviews are all about, folks. That was the case. I watched it from beginning to end, and I gotta say, folks, not the best viewing experience. Now, I will say there are some pros and cons to every situation. The pros to Hatchet was it did have some gore in it. It did go unrated. It wasn't the true unrated in my opinion. It did have the gore and gore galore. I mean, it had a lot of blood in it. I mean, its kill scenes. It probably had 1 to 2, in my opinion, decently executed kill scenes. One of the ones that stand out in my mind after freshly viewing it was where the Hatchet guy, the killer, basically goes and grabs the lady by the mandibles there and pulls her head apart like that, and she's still got a little tongue wiggling there. That was a decently executed. If they would have cut it off after he had ripped her head open and got a little bit of blood spray, but after that they just let it, just like every kill scene in this movie, it was just poorly executed in my opinion. They had the gore there, but it's just the way they did it. They just let it go on and on and on to where it was just like similar to an overly done kung fu movie where the blood just sprays and sprays to the point where it's just kind of like, okay, when did the cartoons come on? I mean, switch the channel back to the movie we were watching. Hatchet, its main cons, let alone, I mean, we all know slasher movies, and this was supposed to be a return to old school slasher, keep that in mind. Slasher movies, that's their cornerstone. They have no-name actors for the most part at their time, bad story, no good acting basically, but good kill scenes, maybe some music and effects. It's all about atmosphere for the most part. One of the main cons in Hatchet was they had, I don't know, folks, I'm just not a fan of the old Dawson's Creek lingo kind of joking nature in the script or whatnot. The acting wasn't even good by slasher standards. I just can't believe they tried to even hype this, had the gall to even hype this up as a return to old school horror. I think they tried to do it that way mainly because they had some cameos from Tony Todd, and Kane Hodder was in it, and Robert Englund was in the beginning of it. They turn in some decent little cameos, but it still is just not enough to save this turkey, folks. It's one of those movies where I tried to have an open mind. It's just the main con, folks, what really just I could not wrap my mind around trying to enjoy Hatchet was that with all the bad acting and the bad story, it just basically, and the lingo, the language of the movie, how they talk to each other, it just didn't work for me in that setting. It didn't give the good atmosphere. But whenever the kill scenes did happen, they still weren't executed well enough to overdo or to do away with that bad lingo and all the stuff that was going on in the movie before the kill scenes. So watch it if you want to, folks. I personally would not waste even $1 on it on Dollar Knot, because even with its cover with the Hatchet on it and all that, or its poster one sheet, I think they were trying to go with the hostile approach where they just put some kind of weird looking or just a scary looking implement on the front of it and just sell the movie with the tagline and hype up its cameos from those horror greats that we all know and love. I would probably wait until somebody goes and rents the movie, and then you just happen to be in the right place at the right time and watch it, or it comes on HBO or one of the pay channels on your digital cable or satellite, and just watch it then if you want to. But I don't know. It's up to personal preference. Go watch it if you want to, folks. Now, moving on to Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes. Now, I'm going to do a decent review on Pumpkinhead one day. The original is absolutely one of my horror favorites. It's not a horror classic in my opinion, but it's not really horror gold either. It's probably a good, strong horror silver. We'll get more into the original one day. It's one of my faves. I'll talk about it later. But Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes has a few cameo or a few little scenes of Lance Henriksen, who you know from the original. It tries to harken back to the storyline of the original. I gotta say, Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes for a video store run was a much better viewing experience in comparison to Hatchet. This is one of the multiples of sequels that came out straight to video on the Pumpkinhead franchise. I gotta say, the creature effects are decent. The practical creature effects are decent in it. It's got some terrible CGI in it, folks. Especially when Pumpkinhead comes through the church window. It's just, I can't even describe it. But the main pros to Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes that I took away from the viewing experience was it made use of its camera angles in a very decent manner. It had a good look. It's a decent looking little film for a straight to video title. It had a good lighting. I like how they did, or it had like low lighting techniques in it that I liked. There again, decent camera work. It didn't have it had some decent acting in it in parts. It's got Doug Bradley in a supporting role as a mad doctor who basically is selling people's organs and skin on the black market and stuff like that. It's kind of neat to see Doug Bradley in kind of like an old wacko Southern gentleman type role like that. So it was kind of neat to see that. Like I said, it was worth, I would say, coming away from Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes, it had decent special effects in it, I thought. They weren't overly done like Hatchet. There's a scene where Pumpkinhead goes into a jail and pulls one of the Wallace family kids up against the jail cell and cuts his throat. And it looks just like any good slasher film where it's got practical blood and things like that. And they do most of their shots of Pumpkinhead creature in a practical format and in different shots and angles and whatnot. And I really enjoyed that. It kind of, like I said, harkened back to it. It really reminded me so much of the original that I couldn't believe it that I did not have the original in my collection. In fact, right after I watched this sequel, I went out and just half.com, I believe it was, and ordered me a good old version, a good old copy of Pumpkinhead. And I can't believe, strike me down, I did not have Pumpkinhead in my collection. But I've got it on the way and I'll review it another day. But I gotta say, Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes, coming away from it, folks, I would recommend probably go on Dollar Knot or Cheapo Knot at your local video store. Give it a viewing with some friends, a few beers if that's your thing, pizza, whatever. Just sit down and make a party out of it and just have a few good laughs. It's not going to be a classic for the ages to come or anything like that, but check it out. It's probably a lot better experience than Hatchet. This has been your quickie informal review of a video store run double feature, Hatchet and Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes. There again, Hatchet thumbs down, Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes maybe in the middle somewhere on the fence. Go watch them if you want to, draw your own conclusions, leave your comments below, and I will see you next time. Take care, folks.